our survey on the physical health of Walton students. So our topic is the health/well-being of Walton High School students, but more importantly, it's their physical health. Our objective is determining how healthy Walton students are based on a multitude of different factors, such as how many sports they play, how much they sleep, etc. Now, how are we going to do this? This is the process. Step 1, we're going to pick an objective for the survey. Step 2, we're going to determine the population and sample of this survey. Step 3, we're going to determine the sampling method. Step 4, create a survey of questions. Step 5, conduct this survey. Step 6, collect/analyze the results of the survey. And Step 7, create graphical displays of our results. Now, research question. Are the students at Walton High School considered healthy? Our population is going to be the students at Walton High School, and our sample is going to be composed of students in Ms. Weibel's 9th grade class, Mr. Fode's 10th grade class, Ms. Miller's 11th grade class, and Ms. Payne's 12th grade homerooms. And how do we determine this? Well, we use the random number generator.
So our guiding questions were 1, what is our process? 2, how healthy are Walton students? 3, how did we eliminate bias inside our study? 4, what are some potential sources of bias? And 5, what do we recommend to improve the health of Walton students? To collect our data, we used multi-stage sampling. First, we stratified each individual based on their grade level. Then we used cluster samples to assign each homeroom a number, and based on a random number generator, we selected a homeroom. Within that homeroom, we surveyed all the students. Our multi-stage sample eliminated bias by including randomization when selecting the homerooms, which were the clusters. By using anonymous responses, we were also able to partially eliminate response bias.
The most frequently played sport of students at Walton High School was assessed. In both males and females at Walton High School, the sport played the most was a sport that was not listed in the survey. Excluding this category, the sports that were played most often within males was basketball and soccer. 15% of males chose soccer as a sport they played most often, and 15% of males chose basketball as a sport they played most often. Within females, the most common sport was swimming and diving, which 14% of females played. In both the female and male category, 12% answered that they did not play any sport. 0% of males played volleyball, which is the least common sport played within the males, and only around 2% of females played football, and 2% of females played baseball. Football and baseball were least commonly played sports within females.
Dietary restrictions of Walton students were assessed in this survey. As seen in this pie graph, an overwhelming proportion, or 82.8% of the students, responded that they had no dietary restrictions. The next largest category was allergy and allergies, which 11.8% of the students classified as their dietary restrictions. Some options of the survey had no students classify themselves as vegan, pescatarian, or as having any other dietary restrictions.
This survey assessed the average amount of sleep that Walton students get per night. The spread of the data is measured by the IQR. For the data is skewed left, it has a gap here. The spread of the data as calculated by IQR is 1.875 hours. At the maximum of 10 hours, this is a relatively large spread. There appears to be an outlier from the 1 to 2 hour range, and the center of the data is best described by the median, for the data is not symmetrical. The median of sleep of Walton students is around 7 hours.
The number of hours that the students at Walton High School spend in front of a screen each day was assessed and divided based on the grades of the students. In this case, the IQR is the best method to determine the spread, for the number of hours that students spend in front of an electronic is skewed right. The IQR, which is determined by the third quartile minus the first quartile, is 5 hours minus 2.5 hours, which is 2.5 hours for freshmen, 2 hours for sophomores, 2 hours for juniors, and 3 hours for seniors. There are outliers at 18 hours and 24 hours in front of a screen for freshmen, 12 hours for sophomores, 10 hours for juniors, and 12 and 24 hours for seniors. Other departures from the data include the gaps. There's a gap between 7 and 18 hours and 18 and 24 hours for freshmen, a gap between 18 and 12 hours for sophomores, a gap between 8 and 10 hours for juniors, and a gap between 7 and 12 hours and 12 and 24 hours for seniors. The center of this data is best described by the median due to the skew of the data and the outliers. The median amount of time spent in front of a screen is 3.4 hours for freshmen, 4 hours for sophomores, 4 hours for juniors, and 5 hours for seniors. The data is overall skewed to the right, with some people spending a large amount of time relative to others in front of an electronic screen. Overall, it appears that seniors spend the greatest amount of time in front of an electronic screen each day, for their median is the highest of 5 hours. However, it seems that the freshmen have the largest range of times that they spend in front of an electronic screen. Their range is from 1 hour to 24 hours, which is 23 hours.
The BMI was calculated taking the weight and height values. In this graph of the BMI versus the average amount of exercise, the predicted BMI can be calculated using the equation 20.99 plus 0.3367 times the average daily exercise hours. The R value of this equation is 0.1325, indicating that there is a positive weak linear correlation between the average daily exercise hours and the BMI. The R squared value is 0.0176, indicating that around 1.76% of the variation in BMI can be explained by the approximate linear relationship with the average daily exercise hours. The linear power and exponential models all fit poorly because there is little correlation between the BMI and the average daily exercise hours of the students at Walton High School. However, the linear model would fit the best.
Here are some recommendations. The average number of sleep of Walton students per night was 7 hours. According to National Sleep Foundation, teens should get 8 to 10 hours of sleep every night. The average number of hours in front of a screen of freshmen was 5 hours, sophomores 4.65 hours, juniors 4.48 hours, and seniors 6.25 hours. The overall average was 4.54 hours. According to wellness.com, teens should have 2 hours of screen time, which is considered healthy, per day. Some lessons learned. The potential sources of bias were that some people did not answer accurately, which led to response bias. Some people may have been absent the day that we surveyed, which led to non-response bias and undercoverage. The order of questions, such as having the question about weight following questions about exercise and eating habits, could have caused response bias. People may have written down a lower weight due to the order of questions. Issues with data collection. The homeroom teachers took a while to get their classroom during homeroom, so we had to administer the surveys fast after asking for permission. Some kids did not want to take the survey at all, so we had to persuade them to take it.